Solana is going to make you rich, so if you're not holding any Solana, make sure to stick around till the end of the video, as today we're going to be checking out an interview from Solana CEO Anatoly Yakovenko. More specifically, it's a conference where he's going to be talking on Yahoo, and overall he's going to be getting into how he created Solana and everything in between. So if you're not holding any Solana, I'll repeat it again, make sure to stick around, because this is a very powerful project and a very big opportunity to make a lot of gains, right? You might think that Solana had its mini bull run and will stabilize, but I think right now is a very good time to get in, as it had a pretty decent regression, right? It had a regression of 14% roughly, and yeah, I think right now, especially as it's $106, right, $107 roughly, it's hovering around the $105 to $110 range. So yeah, it did look very bullish, but right now I think it's gonna have a second wave, but that's just my opinion. Obviously that's not financial advice. I just think right now is a very good time to get into Solana. And with that being said, let's check out this video.
A step back, I guess, and talk about Solana just in the lead up to the conference. Obviously, we've seen some really big stories coming out. Recently, we've hit a big all-time high, and we've also seen 15 billion in DeFi on Solana as well. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that, some of the biggest improvements or biggest moments that you've seen that have come through the last weeks and months, because it's been a pretty big year generally for you.
Yeah, what we kind of see is that during our hackathons, we see a new swarm of teams that are building new DeFi primitives and new products, and it takes them a few months to warm up. Some actually go from forming a team to finishing a hackathon and raising money and getting to like 1 billion TVL just in that time. But generally, it's a bit of a warm-up period, and then we see those products get to market and then get users, and those numbers grow. And it's just really showing that the ecosystem, especially the DeFi side, has its own legs. It's kind of running on its own.
Yeah, and I think that's broadly true. I think generally whenever people speak about DeFi, it's become this sort of unique crypto subculture, I like to say. Do you think that that's like it? Do you think that within the Solana ecosystem, that's been a really big momentum shift for you guys? Do you think that the broader industry has actually really taken to DeFi? I mean, we had the DeFi summer. Do you think that momentum is still ongoing?
For sure. I think what's interesting is that you have a different base layer for DeFi and Solana than on Ethereum, and that's Serum. So Serum is a central limit order book. It's a different way to...
Yeah, before he goes on, that's one of the major differences between Solana and Ethereum, right? We've been talking about this so much, we've been talking about both of their projects, but yeah, the different DeFi layer is a very, very crucial part. Obviously, that's something that separates Solana from Ethereum, in my opinion at least, and it looks like Anatoly agrees with me.
To trade from an AMM like Uniswap, and it has different participants, and the kind of applications that people are building are unique. You have to actually think through.
And here, right, Solana is the leading Ethereum competitor. This was actually 2 years ago, so right now it's not just a competitor, it might overtake it anytime soon. Obviously depends on what metric you think, but in my opinion it's right there, right? It's right around the corner.
Your new product and redesign it for something. Not only that you're porting, you're changing from Solidity to Rust, you have to now build on top of a totally different kind of financial primitive. And we've seen just that exercise be a source of innovation for a lot of teams.
Yeah, and we mentioned Ethereum there as well. I'm sure you're sick of hearing it, but that, the phrase of Solana being an Ethereum killer, are you really tired of hearing that? Why do you think it's staying around?
The media loves the narrative, Like, the reality is that, open source projects can't be killed because there's always somebody that's coding on it for fun over the weekend. And me as an engineer that, grew up in the 90s, I remember Microsoft being this, Linux killer, and they just didn't get it. There's no way you can actually stop an open source movement. So... I like to think that the best we can do for the Ethereum community is be like a formidable competitor in a true sense, right? Like, we're trying to build from the ground up a different engine for censorship resistance, a different engine for DeFi, and that exploration of the space is showing some results that I think are interesting for everyone to see.
Yeah, there utility has gone absolutely through the roof within that time frame. So in my opinion, he did achieve exactly that, and he's only getting started. So yeah, really good CEO in my opinion.
Yeah, like a rising tide lifts all boats, as
Exactly.
they say. That makes sense. And you mentioned censorship resistance there. I was at one of your panels earlier today, you were talking about that at length as well. Tell me a little bit about that and why that's so much at the heart of what Solana does.
I think the core of scalability has to cut down to this like really layer one core component, which is the Nakamoto coefficient. How many nodes, how many different independent entities does it take to slow down information in the system? And if you maximize that, you have to maximize hardware. You have to build a really fast, high-performance chain. But when you do that, you also minimize the cost to users. You minimize the cost to run this network to everybody that is application developer, to everyone that is, just storing keys and like using DeFi. And I think that's an interesting thing. And I think it actually builds a fair, more open, decentralized marketplace that can, I think, in theory, disrupt things like ad exchanges at Google. Imagine a web without ads, right? That's possible only by extremely cheap marketplaces.
And sticking on Solana's like recent progress as well over the last few months. In September, the outage that lasted, I think it was 17 hours.
17-hour block.
Yeah. So how did that like affect you? Was it? I can imagine it was a fairly stressful time. What did you learn from it? And can we expect that maybe to never happen again? Like, how does that work?
So the thing is that like the core of what decentralization provides is that as long as you have one independent party that is still running or still has a copy of the chain, then the chain can recover. So that's really, if you think about Bitcoin, there's 12,000 nodes. If I snap my finger and I destroy all of them, the Bitcoin is gone. It's not the hash power, it's the actual copies of the state. So Solana is at around 2,000 of these copies, and when you have something like a liveness failure like that, the network doesn't just die, right? It just stalls. It's prevented from confirming new blocks because there's so much data to process. And the validator community on their own can come together and run the tools to basically recover from that state, as long as there's one of them that's still around. And in our case, what I saw was that out of those 2,000s, 80% showed up, like almost immediately. And that was really cool to see. It really means that we have a very large independent set of providers that are running this network, that are maintaining it, and it is effectively unstoppable.
Yeah, excellently said from Solana Labs CEO Anatoly Yakovenko there. Now guys, that's all the time that we have for today from this interview. We might react to it in another video, so let me know if you want that. But overall, also let me know, what do you think about Solana's price? Where do you see it heading? Are you bearish? Are you bullish on it? Are you holding a lot of Solana or are you not? Let me know all of that and more in the comments down below. As always, I love talking to you today, and peace.